They whispered about it for centuries, the ship that humanity never built. Not because we couldn't, not because we didn't want to, but because sometimes the greatest thing we create is the thing we choose not to. The galaxy would remember us for our wars, our daring, our defiance. But what they feared most was not a weapon forged, not a fleet unleashed, not a superweapon tested in fire. What they feared most was the ghost of a ship that never existed, and the fact that humans had considered it, designed it, dreamed of it, and then, in silence, decided not to. That single absence echoed louder than the thundering fleets of empires. And this is the story of that absence. This is the story of the last ship we never built. If you're new here, welcome aboard. Before we dive in, if you enjoy epic human stories like this one, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really fuels the channel to keep bringing these narratives alive. Now, back to the galaxy, back to the silence of a ship that never existed. In the age of expansion, humanity built everything, from world ships that carried entire nations across the stars, to swarms of self-replicating vessels that dug life from barren rock. We had fleets of dreadnoughts, explorers, terraformers, arc ships, and hospital carriers that could heal entire continents. We built like no other species in the galaxy, because we had once lived on a fragile blue marble, where survival meant building shelters against storms, ships against seas, machines against hunger. It was in our nature. But then came the War of Silence, the war that was never declared and never properly ended. The galaxy was already afraid of us, afraid of our speed, our imagination, our endless habit of finding ways to win. Empires that had lasted 1,000 years began trembling when they heard the whisper of human colonization fleets. Because where humans landed, life grew stubborn, civilization followed, and permanence took root like weeds in stone. So, they tried to cage us. Not with fleets, they had already learned that lesson, but with treaties, alliances, peace councils, and endless restrictions. The galaxy was afraid that we would build something they could not control. They were right. Because we designed a ship that was never built. Its schematics were whispered about in dark war rooms, in backlit halls of power, in the terrified midnight debates of alien councils. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It did not bristle with guns, did not radiate terror in its silhouette. But the concept of it shook the galaxy to its core. We called it the Shepherd. It was to be the last ship ever needed. A vessel that could carry not just humanity, but the seeds of Earth, the memory of our cultures, the DNA of every living thing we chose to preserve. It was not an ark. It was something more, something beyond the survival of one species. It was designed as a mobile genesis, a ship that could fall into the ruins of a war-broken galaxy and rebuild civilization from the ashes, not just once, but endlessly. The Shepherd would carry entire libraries of history, art, music, science. It would carry factories that could build anything from a hut to a starship. It would carry the seeds of forests, the embryos of animals, the essence of oceans, the warmth of fire, the rhythm of language. It was, in essence, a portable Earth. A last reminder of what we were, capable of seeding 1,000 futures if every present failed. The galaxy looked at that design and panicked. They said it was a weapon, not because it killed, but because it could not be killed. How do you fight an enemy that can always begin again? How do you defeat a species that can outlast your empire not by winning battles, but by refusing to vanish? And so, they begged us never to build it. They threatened. They bargained. They pleaded. But here is the strangest part. We listened. For once in our history, we chose restraint. We left the plans in silence. The ship was never laid down, never constructed, never even prototyped. It remained a whisper, a sketch in the minds of engineers, a ghost in forgotten databanks. But the fear of it lingered. Aliens spoke of it in hushed tones. Whole fleets were built to counter the possibility of its existence. propaganda spread that humanity had already secretly built it and that it waited somewhere beyond the rim, watching. The absence became its own presence. The last ship we never built became more feared than any fleet we had. And here lies the quiet genius of humanity. Because while the galaxy obsessed over the Shepherd, while they watched every dockyard, every factory, every transport, convinced we might be hiding it, humanity was busy building something else entirely. Not a ship, not a weapon. We were building roots. While they stared at the stars in fear, we dug deeper into every world we touched. We planted forests where deserts had been. We carved rivers into broken plains. We spread stories, music, laughter. We colonized not just planets, but hearts. The Shepherd had never been meant as a ship. It had always been a philosophy, a reminder that humanity's greatest power was not our weapons, not our fleets, not our wars. It was the fact that we could start again, anywhere, with nothing, from the ashes. And so we never needed to build it, because we already carried it inside us. In the centuries that followed, the galaxy kept whispering about the last ship. Even as empires rose and fell, even as fleets turned to rust, even as wars burned out, the story of humanity's ghost ship remained. Children of alien worlds grew up hearing the cautionary tale. Do not provoke the humans. They carry a ship that can never die, a ship that will bring them back even if the galaxy falls. And perhaps that was the greatest truth of all. Because though we never built it with steel and engines, we built it in myth. And myths are harder to kill than any ship ever forged. This was the last ship we never built. A silence louder than war. A ghost more real than fleets. A story that outlived empires.